Hello my fishing friends. Today I got something a little bit different for you, so stay tuned. Okay, we're back. So today I'm going to show you how to tie what's basically like a Clouser minnow. I'm not sure if you're familiar with fly tying, but Clouser minnow is like one of the deadlier flies that you can get for catching just about all species of fish. But what I've set this up for is for catching crappie and jigging it below a float. So it's a little bit different. I've got it set up for going on a jig hook and basically hanging down underneath a float here. And I've got a few different versions and varieties of it that I've tied here. So we've got like a little, more minnow-like ones. These things will slay you some crappie. So stick around and I'm going to show you how to tie this. Okay, we are going to start with this size 190-degree jig eye hook on here. And the first thing we want to do is take just a little dab of super glue, and I want to put it here and just a little bit back from the eye, or from the bend here. And all we're going to do is we're going to tie in right about that point, and we are going to trim this off here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a little bump right at this point here. Okay, just like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some lead dumbbell eyes. I've got these right here, which are a size 7/32. I'm going to tie this in, and the way I tie this in is I'm going to hold it kind of parallel. I'm just going to wrap once or twice, and it'll pull it over the hook. And I'm going to go around a few more times, and then, so I'm going what's called an X-wrap. So then I'm going to go underneath here and back behind the other eye. And all I'm doing is running diagonally on the wrap, and it's going to pull this eye back into where it's straight. I'm going to run some X-wraps around there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to run around the base of this. So I'm going underneath the eyes but over the hook. And I'm putting good amount of pressure on this so that it gets it right back in place, okay? And by the way, this is 210 denier ultra thread here in hot pink. Okay, so now I've got that done. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some lead wire. I want a little bit of weight added to this. The eyes will add some weight, but I want a little bit more weight added. So I'm going to nip off just a little bit of this lead weight. I'm using a 0.25. And all I'm going to do is, let me get that there. I'm going to wrap this around here, and you can wrap it however much you want or however little you want. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I usually go about 14 times. 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's move this back a little bit. 1, 2, 3, and 14 times here. And then I'm just going to nip this off. I'm usually going to use other scissors for this, but the lead's very, very soft. So I'm going to nip that off, pinch this in here, and kind of push this right up against those eyes. Okay, and that's going to add some weight to our jig. And I'm going to go up here, and then I'm going to wrap into this thread to kind of hold it into place. Do some wraps on the thread itself, and then I'm going to get behind the thread And I'm going to make a nice little kind of thread dam there. And then I'm going to work my way right back up to behind the eyes. Okay? Next thing is I've got this kind of fuchsia flash. And of course you can do this whatever colors you want, but I'm going to take some of this fuchsia flash, just a reasonable amount of it. I'm not going to use a ton, but it's going to be, I want it to have some flash because crappie like to have some flash. So I'm probably taking 10 strands of it or so, and I'm cutting it fairly long because what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it over on there. So then I'm going to measure this kind of to where these are, I've got a couple of renegade long ones here, but I want to have the shortest of them about, an inch or two, or about an inch past the back of the hook here. So I'm going to wrap that in, and I'm going to fold them over and wrap that in, and then at that point what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of measure this off, and I'm going to clip those because I don't want them real long, because I don't want crappie short striking this, so maybe an inch or so past this. And there we go. Now we've got our first little bit wrapped in. The next thing we're going to use, which is going to represent the bottom of our minnow that we're making. And by the way, this is not going to ride like this in the water. It actually will ride like this. So what we're working on when we're working on it from here is not actually the top, it's the belly of the minnow. So anyway, I've got some of this polar flash. As you can see, it's super, super bright, super awesome. And I'm going to take a fair amount of it, probably a little bit more than we did of the other flash here. And I'm going to cut it, kind of do the same thing as we did before. And cut myself a little piece of it. And I'm going to measure it out to where it's just about on here. And let's move this up. I just want to move this in front of the eyes, and I'm going to measure this off here. I'm going to hold that in place, and I'm going to do a couple of loose wraps on here. 3. And then I'm going to pull upward on this right here, because what I want it to do is stay on the top of the hook. Once you do that, then I'm going to do a couple tighter wraps. And then I'm going to fold it over just like that. And try and get a couple of wraps on there. There we go. Got it captured, so I can wrap that into place. Then I'm going to go behind the eye and get a little bit of capture there, and then back in front of the eye. Now I've got this right here, and I don't need these to be all out so long, so I'm going to kind of clip them, and I'm kind of moving around on the clipping so it keeps them kind of a little more random. And you can see they're not all the same length in there. And I've got both of my colors of flash. So next thing we are going to do is we are going to flip this. Okay. And this is looking awesome so far. The next thing we're going to do, I've got some pink craft fur. And I'm going to grab pretty good chunk of it, like this right here. And I'm going to cut that off right at the base. I'm just going to grab it by the end here and try and pull out any excess really, really long ones and any really, really short ones as well. And get some of that fluff out of there. And I'm going to measure it onto here. You see it needs to be right about like that. So I'm going to put that over the hook here. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. Make it easier to trim up and keep tamed. And then I just tend to kind of split this into a V and place it on either side of the hook like that. And again, a couple of loose capturing wraps. And then I want to kind of pull upward on it. Two more. Let's pull all of this upward so it's not sitting. We want this to be right on the top. And then I'm going to do a couple of heavier wraps on here. And then try and get some of this trimmed up. Okay. Take this and just kind of clear this up a little bit. And I'm just going to go behind the eye and just do a little bit of a collar, kind of nothing big, just a little bit of a collar to clear this up. And then I'm going to go right around here, and I gotta move us back in here. I sometimes do that as I get the vise walks while I'm working, so I gotta get out of that habit of letting that happen. And all I'm trying to do is capture all these little wayward threads and kind of get them into line, get them kind of cleared up. Okay, so we've got that, and all we need to do now is I'm gonna do a little 5 turn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then do one more of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gonna clip that, and I'm gonna use some of this Loon Outdoors UV fly finish. Let me trim up around the head just a little bit here, because we're gonna also use the UV finish on the head. So I want that to be pretty clean. That's a little better. Clip this down here. This is why I need those glasses. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and use the UV finish here. Just to kind of hold everything together. And I want to put some just on the threads just behind the eyes as well, and on the top and bottom of the eye. Get a little bit more there and we'll be good to go. There we go. Hit it with the torch. This will just take a minute here. Like I say, this is very much based on a Clouser minnow, but set up for jigging underneath a float for crappie. And just want to trim up this back just a little bit. I don't want it to be perfectly straight or anything, but I do want it to be not so many long strands hanging way back. Okay. And there you have it. Let's get it back into here for you to see. And there it is. And that right here, that's how it's going to fish. It's going to hang underneath the your float, and it is going to catch you some crappie. So anyway, if you get a chance, give this a try. Like I say, deadly on crappie. You can make this without the 90 degree as well and just use it for fishing, not necessarily under a float, but you can use it for ultralight fishing and just kind of do a drag and drop, or just dart it around. There's a lot of different retrieves you can do for it. So anyway, hope you liked this video. I hope that you got something out of it, and I hope you make this and report back on all that you caught, okay? I really appreciate you watching, and if you feel like it, I'd love for you to subscribe and like this video, and hopefully we can keep some videos coming to you, okay? Peace.